Hello and welcome back to Fuzzy's Kitchen. In this episode we're actually going to cover London Broil. It's a really simple marinade, pretty light actually. It's not going to overpower the flavor of your London Broil, but it'll definitely add an impactful punch. So we're going to go through the build of materials and we're going to get this recipe underway. Alright, so here's the build of materials. You'll see that we've chosen a shoulder London Broil. You can also do top round. We prefer the shoulder because it has a little bit more marbling, has a little bit more pores for the marinade to seep into. You might need to tenderize if you go with the top round. With this, we're going to be doing 3 teaspoons of soy sauce, 1 teaspoon of salad oil. You can see here we chose vegetable oil. 1 teaspoon of tomato paste, 1 teaspoon of salt, a half teaspoon of pepper, and then a half teaspoon of oregano, and then an eighth of a teaspoon of minced garlic. Now once you get all of this kind of mixed together in one marinade, you'll put it on the steak, and you'll want to refrigerate for up to 5 hours. I'm actually going out of town. My band has a gig about 4 hours away, so we're actually going to refrigerate this overnight and cook it tomorrow. So I will show you how to assemble the marinade, and then we'll put this thing in the refrigerator. Okay, so as you can see, I have this all stored away. I tried to air seal this or airlock it as tight as I could, pushing all the air out, but you can see there's just an even glaze over the entire piece of meat. Like I said, you're not going to over marinate it. It's just going to be a little bit of a glaze. So we're going to put this in the refrigerator overnight just to let it sit, let those flavors soak into the meat, and then tomorrow we're probably going to cook this at around 350 degrees. With lump charcoal, and we're probably going to use Mesquite Wood Chips. I'll have to check how many wood chips I have in my inventory, but I would either use like Mesquite or the Jack Daniel's barrel would be real good with this. So we're going to store this away, and I will see you tomorrow. Alright, well welcome back. You see the next day the London Broil is looking pretty good. We just pulled it out of the refrigerator. You see I'm also rinsing or soaking some Mesquite Wood Chips. So we have the fire started. We're going to try to get it to around 350 to 400. If we can get it a little bit above that, that'd be even better. Once we get that started, we're going to dump the wood chips in, and we're going to basically sear each side of the London Broil for about 2.5 minutes per side, directly over the flame, and then we're going to try to push it aside just to get some indirect heat. You know, we're not going to try to do indirect heat by the sense of using like a drip pan or the plate setter or anything like that. We're just simply going to try to move it away from direct flame. So our target's to get it around 130 degrees, but to make sure that it stays under that. London Broil is meant to be served medium rare, so you really don't want to exceed that too much, especially since we're going to let this sit and rest for about 5 minutes after cooking, and that temperature will continue to climb during that point. So we don't want it to get too dry, as London Broil often can be. So we are going to check back in when I prep the grill, and then we'll get this cook underway. Alright, as you can see, we're right at 350 and climbing, so we're going to add our wood chips now. And let our grill burp. Okay, I don't know if you can see, but we actually have a decent fire there. So we're going to introduce our wood chips real quick. Alright, so now we're going to put our London Broil directly over the strongest part of the flame, and we're going to do that for 2.5 minutes per side, just to sear that outside. And we're just going to throw it right on like so. So we're going to close this up and we'll flip it in 2.5 minutes. Alright, so we dropped a little bit because of the wood chips, but our temperatures should still be okay. We're actually going to flip and sear the other side real quick. Put on for another 2.5 minutes, and then we're going to start indirectly cooking for about a half hour is probably what it'll take to get the internal temperature to 130. See, I'm having trouble getting a grip of it because of this marinade. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to let that sit for another 2.5 minutes, and then we're going to start monitoring it until it's finished. Alright, it's been another 2.5 minutes, so we're going to do another flip, and then we're just going to kind of let it sit and really just leave it indirect and just flip it probably every 10 minutes and just keep checking the temperature, and when it gets to 130 or slightly under 130, pull it off. So we're going to flip it one more time. We're going to move it off of the direct flames, and then we're going to close her up, and we'll check back in when this thing's done. Alright, so it's been about 15 to 20 minutes later. I've flipped it twice and checked the temperature. We're approaching, so I think it's probably going to be done. So we'll just check on it real quick, and remember our target is 130. And if you're a little bit under that, that's okay, because you're going to let this rest, and it'll come up a few degrees after you let it rest for 5 minutes. So we'll see. Camera's having trouble focusing. So we're climbing, we're approaching that 130 mark, and look at that, it's like sitting perfect. So we're going to pull this off right now. We're going to let it sit for 5 minutes, and it should be perfect and ready to serve. Alright, so we just pulled it off the grill. This is what it's going to look like when it's done, but remember, we're going to let it sit for 5 minutes at least till we slice into it. Another misconception that's pretty common is a lot of people like to slice their London broil with the grain. You actually need to cut it again, so we'll show you how to do that when we're ready to serve. Alright, so we've let it sit now for actually probably close to 10 minutes. So the way you slice this, you'll notice that there's actually grain here. You actually want to go against that grain. A lot of people are tempted just to slice it right along. So we'll just start with a piece, and it should be a ring of pink in the middle. That's pretty perfect if you can see that, and you can slice this as thin as you want. I typically slice it a little thin, and you'll notice since we let it sit, all those juices have been flowing for a while, so it's going to be super moist and juicy on the inside. So we'll continue to slice this, and we'll grab a bite here in a minute. Alright, so we have it sliced up. As you can see, we just did several thin slices, so I'm just going to grab a little piece right here. Can already tell he's going to be super juicy. Get all that red in the middle, nice little ring of gray. A hint of red on the outside with the smoke, so it should be a lot of different flavors in play right here. Very flavorful. The marinade doesn't overpower it, and it's super juicy. Enjoy.